What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the RBI podcast. My name is Richie. I am your host. I'm deepest apologies for missing the last month. I've been super busy, started a new job like I've mentioned before, and I could not get consistent content out to you guys, so I did not want to waste your time. But now we are back to our regular scheduled programming. We'll be out every Thursday or Friday and every Monday, definitely every Monday, and I'll let you know later in that week if it's going to be a Thursday or a Friday. But for today, it's Friday. The Cardinals are a mess. So are a couple of teams. I'm going to highlight the Mets, the Padres, Phillies a little bit, not really. But like always, like, comment, share, subscribe, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you could find me. Just RBI Pod is the handle, and you know this by now. So I appreciate you guys sticking by me. And hopefully you guys came back for this episode because I know it's been a while. But for now, let's get started. So right into it with the Cardinals are a mess. The St. Louis Cardinals are last in the National League. They are 13-25. The struggles aren't what really concerned me about this team. Obviously, you want to play better. Like Nolan Arenado is 159th in the league in OPS at 621. Not great for an MVP candidate. Will he turn it around? I hope so. Hopefully. His Savant page does not look great. He's not hitting the ball hard. He's not striking the ball. He's not making a lot of contact. So that's concerning. But the big issue I have is everything going on besides their on-the-field play. Like I said, the Mets, Padres, Phillies, like no one, Blue Jays a little bit, but even though they're pretty good. But the Mets, Padres, Phillies, those teams specifically have not really gotten going yet. Those teams are actually kind of cold. But with the Cardinals, what concerns me is that we had the Tyler O'Neill situation, we've had the Wilson Contreras situation, Jack Flaherty situation, and now most recently Zach Gallen's comments, which happened today. Starting with the Tyler O'Neill situation, you guys have seen this with Ali Marmol. He didn't run it out and he got benched for it, and that was early in the year. And so I'm gonna talk about that briefly, but now more recently the Wilson Contreras thing, not really his fault. It's more of a team issue. They just signed him to a 5-year, I think $87 million contract, and now he's not going to be your catcher. He's going to be your DH, where Nolan Gorman was mostly, and he's probably your best hitter at the moment. You're going to put Contreras in the outfield. You're going to put him DH. Is Andrew Kisner? Is he a good enough hitter to play every day at catcher? These questions kind of have to be answered by the Cardinals, and being 13-25 is not being a little below 500 or a little above 500 and just teetering a little bit. 13-25 is definitely a panic mode situation. I mean, 38 games in, like I said, it's still got 124 games, but still, you don't want to be last in your division through 2 months, and right now it's trending that way, even though the Central is not that great. The one that really concerns me, in this situation, is Jack Flaherty, because as a whole, the pitching staff has been bad. Steven Matz, not that great. Jake Woodford, not that great. Miles Michaels has been not great. Wainwright just came back. But Jack Flaherty in 2019 looked like he was going to be the ace of this staff for many years to come. Injuries happen, shoulder issues, some things you can't always control. And now, his last couple starts, he's lost velocity at every start. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know he's went from 94 to 91 periodically, or on I don't know what the word is. Degress, I guess, or regressed every single start. And after the game, I believe on today's Thursday night, so Tuesday, I believe, they asked him about his velocity, and he kind of gave a snarky answer. He kind of defended himself a little bit. He gave the whole "you don't know ball because you didn't play" comment, which is not the greatest look when you're struggling. And he said you don't need, he uses velocity when he needs to, but average velo doesn't see if you take a little off or put a little bit on. It's your velo for the whole game. Most pitchers, or almost all pitchers, are throwing max effort fastballs about 90 to 95% of the time. Then you have the Bartolo Colons and those guys of the world that would move the ball, that type of thing. But those guys never relied on velocity, and they very barely touched 90 with movement. Jack Flaherty's fastball doesn't have a lot of movement. He's more of a fastball curveball guy. And I just don't know if this is a sign for things to come. From a baseball standpoint, pitching-wise, he has not been good. And also, you're going to start getting snarky with the media. Who knows what's going on in this clubhouse? And it seems like a really rocky road. And to piggyback off that, I'm going to talk about Zach Gallen right now. Pitcher for the Diamondbacks, probably one of the top 3 pitchers in the National League right now. On my fantasy team, he has been phenomenal for me. But I think it's the Foul Territory podcast with Scott Braun, AJ Przinsky. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but I know his face. I can't put name to face. And I think Todd Frazier's on there sometimes. But Zach Gallen was talking about how he got traded from the Cardinals, which he goes through an entire scenario of him and Winter Ball, and I'm not going to get into that. But what I will say is a quote, and I'm paraphrasing this, but he says something along the lines of, the Cardinals have their way of doing things, and that's about it. And he kind of said it that way, and it came off as like they're very my way or highway organization. And I kind of find a lot of these things ironic because this is the first year without Yadier Molina. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. I think Molina was such a glue for this organization, and they didn't realize the leadership that he brought and the culture that he brought, because now he's gone. The manager's fighting with players. Jack Flaherty's yelling at umpires. Pitchers are gathering, not wanting to throw to their $87 million catcher. So it's a really weird situation in St. Louis right now. And it's kind of ironic because for how long have we known St. Louis to be this great organization, no issues, all class, no off the field, not off the field stuff, but no like locker room issues, good clubhouse, just everything just the right way, and they were picked to win the division. Hell, I had them going to I had them win the National League pennant in my playoff prediction. If you haven't seen that yet, go look at it. Right now, some of the picks not looking too hot, but it's early. I don't know. It's just the situation here is not great. The Arenado thing is a little concerning. I'm going to trust his track record that he'll get on track. Is he going to have an MVP season? It's going to take an insane tear from him to get to that. But if he can get to first he gets to 700 OPS, then you get to 750, then 800, and you work yourself back up, he'll be okay, I believe, in the end. I don't think his defense is suffering. I'm not really sure. I'd have to check that. But as a whole, the Cardinals are in a tough situation, not just because they're not playing well, but are we sure, are they all on the same page as an organization? I'm not going to say they're not getting along, because I obviously don't know that. But we have pitchers not wanting to throw to a certain catcher. We have a pitcher not sure also if he's a velocity guy or not. We have their best player not playing well, or second best player not playing well at all. They just had a long losing streak. Their pitching staff isn't good. And these holes were obvious holes before the year started. We knew going to the season. I even said in my prediction, they need to make a move for a starter in order to go deep in the playoffs. But I thought this rotation could at least hold it down a little bit, but it has not. And it's kind of anything that can go wrong will go wrong for this team right now. And I don't know how they can get out of it, but I feel like they're getting in their own way a lot with stuff off the field. I never even mentioned that Jordan Walker got sent down about 3 weeks ago. But that's a different thing. He'll be up soon. He'll be fine. I'm not worried about that. But like I keep saying, clubhouse things, chemistry-wise, it just seems off. And I'm wondering if that's from Yadier Molina leaving. Is it all of it? Probably not. But it definitely is some of it. And it's something to keep an eye on with the Cardinals. I'm going to trust their track record, but time's ticking when you're 13-25. Speaking of the National League, a lot of teams with high expectations, like the Mets, Phillies, and Padres, have not gotten off to great starts. I believe the Phillies are 19-20, the Mets are 18-20, the Padres are 19-19. But I wouldn't panic yet with, I know all these teams have their flaws. I'm going to go into the Mets specifically just because I'm a Mets fan, and also they've had the easiest path and it has not gone their way. But I think the one thing this can teach us is that, for me personally, when I see these comments on Twitter and stuff, money, the Mets have this massive payroll, the worst team money can buy. Same thing with the Padres and Phillies, the high payroll is not winning. in baseball, payrolls don't mean as much regarding like there's no salary cap. So these teams can easily adjust when needed. Like it's based off the money they want to spend, not the cap that the league gives them. And also we're 40 games in. Like these teams all have kind of fatal flaws, I'm not going to lie to you. But it's nothing that can't be fixed, mainly because these ownerships have proven to be aggressive, and they've proven to not be settled and satisfied, especially through 40 games, or wherever it's been, 35, 36 games. To start off with the Mets, I'll start off with the Phillies first. Their pitching has been an issue, and it's like Taijuan Walker hasn't worked out yet. Bryce Harper just got back, but losing Rhys Hoskins hurt. Like that's gonna hurt a lot. Nola and Wheeler are kinda like they're not dominating. They're pitching well, but they're not dominating, and the bullpen has not been great, which is something you can fix at the deadline. So if they can kind of just stay 500 like they did last year, they should be okay. They should stay in the mix. Trey Turner will eventually get to his regular self. Nick Castellanos is having a great bounce back season. So the Phillies is probably the team out of these three that I'm going to say the least worried about, but from a roster standpoint, we kind of expected this type of start, especially we didn't think Harper was going to be back this fast, but I'm not worried about the Phillies mainly because I didn't expect them to win 95 to 100 games. I expected them to be like in that 88 to 90 win range. And right now, you know, they're getting their flow going, but they should be okay. Moving to the Padres, I wrote here they just got to get into a rhythm. Like Musgrove and Tatis just got back. Musgrove has made, I think, 3 times or 4 times through the rotation now. And Tatis has played, gotta be 15 games. He's playing pretty well. The biggest thing with them is Machado hasn't hit well yet, but Soto's starting to hit, and Tatis is playing decently. But the problem they're having is outside of their star player, they're not deep. Like they're like Cronenworth's solid, Kim is solid, but even after those guys, like Rougned Odor, David Dahl, I believe, is on this team. Like their catchers aren't the greatest. It's just very top heavy of a team, and that's going to cost them because your top guys aren't going to hit all the time, and you need guys that can kind of pitch in when needed. This team is loaded with talent, so I can't picture them staying 500 the whole year. Like I said, they're 19-19, they're 38 games in. Like there's still a long way to go, but they would like to be in a better spot, especially for the fact the Dodgers are playing really well. And finally, the Mets, before I get into the National League as a whole, the Mets are the team I don't want to say I'm the most concerned with, but I'm going to make this statement. The Mets have played in the last couple weeks. They went Nationals, Braves, Tigers, Rockies, Reds. They lost all of those series. They haven't won a series since they beat the Dodgers, like about almost a month ago now. So I think they're 4-13 in the last 17 games. So not playing well against pretty faulty competition, even though the Tigers in second place, but that's kind of weird. The one thing I will say, I personally don't buy into the whole strength of schedule thing, because early on in the season, the Mets were 14-7, and they beat the Marlins 5 out of 7 times. The 19-19 Marlins, by the way, that just keep winning one-run games. It's insane. They're 12-0 in them. They also took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, 2 out of 3 from the Padres. So when you're playing well, it does not matter who's on the field. You will have a shot to win, especially when your team as talented as the Mets. When you're not going well, like they're not right now, not getting the pitching, obviously, that's the biggest bugaboo for them right now. It doesn't matter who you're playing. When you're playing bad baseball, the other team is professional. They're going to beat you. And that's what's going on with the Mets right now. The pitching is not going more than 5 innings outside of Verlander lately. And even him, he just got back. So it comes down to they need guys to perform. Max Scherzer has not been great. He hasn't been good at all, and he's been kind of hurt. Starling Marte has been really bad. The rest of the team is just... I can't blame the offense because, like today, in the first inning, it was 4-0. Every game, they seem to be down in the first inning. And you can't... It's so hard as an offense to continue to try to claw back into games, because not often have they had like a 4-0 lead, a 5-0 lead. And even when they do, they haven't been able to hold it. Like the pitching has been their true issue this year. In my lifetime, I can't remember a time their pitching has been this bad. But they're 18-20. They got the Nationals coming up. If they can find a way to take 3 out of 4, you get good vibes going into playing. Then they go Tampa and Cleveland, much tougher competition. But that has proven, like I said, to mean nothing. If you're not playing well, it does not matter. So the Mets, I'm not, like, for any of these teams, I'm not hitting the panic button yet for this reason specifically, but also for the fact that the track records that the players on these teams have will tell you that they will kick it into a high gear. The concerns I have is, like, Scherzer, is he going to ever be healthy? How is Harper's elbow? Is Nola and Wheeler, are they going to, like, really kick it into high gear? Or are they just losing life on their fastballs? Those type of things. For the Padres, like, is Machado going to get it going? Is their depth going to rear its ugly head the entire year? Like, we don't know these things right now. I think about Memorial Day weekend, you can kind of make that assumption. But for now, they kind of just have to stay in the mix because of this stat that was wild. In the National League, there are 2 teams that are 5 games above 500. The Los Angeles Dodgers, of course, and the Atlanta Braves, of course. Outside of that, the whole National League is wide open. Like, the Mets and the Padres, the Padres have lost, I think, 6 of 7. The Mets have lost 14 or 13 of 17. For all of that, they're a game out of the wild card because no one is running away with it. The Pirates were red hot. They came crashing down to earth. I talked about the Cardinals. Then teams like the Cubs, Brewers, even like the Giants, D-backs, like, all these teams are just, like, around 2 to 3 games above or below 500. And it's all, like, mixed right now. And I believe one of these teams that gets their rhythm, whether it's any of these teams, just goes on like a 5-game heater. All of a sudden, you're 3 games up in the wild card and you're feeling a lot more comfortable than you were last week. But the thing is, these teams have to find a way to get into that rhythm. I'm not sure who it's going to be. I hope it's the Mets. I'm not really sure how it is. I think they got to make some changes because I don't know where they go. I think it's not to stick with the Mets this whole time, but I think the biggest issue with the Mets is that David Peterson and Tyler Domingo have not been what they were last year. And they held the fort down when guys like Scherzer and DeGrom were not making starts. And now this year, Scherzer and Verlander weren't making starts. They were not getting the job done. Senga's been, like, up and down. He had a little bit of a hard luck first inning today outside of, like, a hard hit double, like 2 duck fart hits that really bothered me. But besides that, he's 4-2. Like, he's got 4 wins under his belt for this team. And then, like, Lucchesi, you can't, like, rely on that. Jose Budo, you can't rely on those guys. And it's not nothing against them, but there's a reason why they were the 6, 7, 8 starters. And yeah, I just think whoever catches fire in the National League has a chance to really separate themselves for, like, literally that first wild card. And it could come as early as Memorial Day, but also this is a long season, so you kind of have to just ride out your slumps and just hope you catch fire and get into, like, a consistent winning rhythm. Speaking of the Braves, they do have a high cushion. Like, they're 6.5 games up, but it is not great to hear about Max Fried and Kyle Wright's injuries. Kyle Wright has shoulder inflammation on the same shoulder, obviously his throwing shoulder, that he got his cortisone injection in that pushed him back to start the season. And Max Fried has forearm tightness, which really scares me. They're both out multiple months. But like I said, they're 6.5 games up, so they're going to need their depth to step up, like Dylan Dodd, Jared Schuster, and I can't believe I'm saying this guy is depth, but Mike Soroka. Those guys are going to have to step up. They haven't had the greatest years to start. 6.5 games at this, like, chunk of the season isn't, like, it's a big lead, but, like, it can easily be, like, given away. We saw it last year. And it does make me a tad nervous with the Braves. Kyle Wright, like, a shoulder thing, like, it doesn't seem like he's going to need surgery or anything like that. Max Fried, I know the initial thing is no TJ, which is great. TJ meaning Tommy John surgery. But forearms are tricky and flexor tendons are tricky. We saw Robbie Ray. At first he was just on the injury list, then he got surgery. He's done for the season now. I don't love it for Max Fried, and the fact that the initial prognosis was automatically 2 months scares me. And I'm one of the bigger Mets fans, so I obviously do not like the Braves, but I do enjoy watching Max Fried pitch, and I don't want to see him get hurt. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. And especially if like you hear forearm, if it's close to the elbow, anything with forearm, tricep, anything with your arm just really makes me nervous for a pitcher. Arm, any side, back, pitcher injuries can get so wacky and so like very serious very quickly. And it makes me nervous. But for the Braves standpoint, they're going to really need this depth because now it's Spencer Strider, and then you're relying on an older Charlie Morton to consistently give you winning starts, which he was not put in that position. He was supposed to be the 5 starter, and then guys go down. Besides that, they have, like I said, they have Schuster, Dodd. I'm forgetting the guy they have in their rotation. I'm not really sure, but it's just, I don't know. I don't love their rotation as it stands outside of Strider, but they found a way to get it done before, so I wouldn't be shocked if they do it again. They're going to hit, so they can definitely outslug some teams to get some wins. Acuna is probably the MVP favorite right now in the National League. He's playing out of his mind. It's something to look at. And then another injury is Jacob deGrom. I know it was a couple weeks ago, but there was an update that he's out at least 2 to 3 more weeks. I talked about this in the last episode. This is the give or take with this guy, and it really stinks. Like I said, elbow inflammation is nothing to sneeze at. Same thing with forearm tightness, same thing with tricep tightness, bicep tightness, whatever it is. But they invested a lot of money in this guy, so if he's out for a long time, that looks pretty rough. Even though the Rangers are in first place and playing really good baseball, they probably have the American League Rookie of the Year. They probably have Nate Eovaldi's shoving right now. Adolis Garcia is an underdog MVP candidate, in my opinion. And Corey Seager's not even in the lineup. So, are they perfect? No, but they're in first place in the AL West, and that includes the Houston Astros, who, similar like the Padres, Mets, Phillies, like they haven't really gotten going yet. But, yeah, so I don't love, obviously, these injuries concern me, especially arm issues. Like, when they come back, are they going to be like themselves? We shall see, but for now, just the Braves have to get these guys to really give them quality innings to continue to stay afloat not stay afloat in the NL East, but keep their cushion in the NL East. I find it funny on the last episode I did the undefeated teams that were left after week 1. It was like the Twins, Rays, and I forget the third or fourth team, maybe the Braves. And the Rays have lost 9 times since I've said that. They are 30-9 with a plus 121 run differential. They won tonight against the Yankees 8-2. Drew Rasmussen, fantasy player as well, shoved 7 innings. I know they lost Jeffrey Springs, but they'll find another pitcher. I think the difference with this team, like we always talk about the Rays as like this low market team that has a bunch of these guys that overachieve, and they do have that this year because Luke Raley is playing great, Taylor Walls is playing great, Yandy Diaz is finally lifting the ball. So those guys were not really, I guess, banked on to be like really consistent offensive players for this team, but they do something where they put guys in positions to be successful. And like I said, now Taylor Walls is a good hitter. Brandon Lau has always been good. Josh Lau, Isaac Paredes, like all these guys. I said Luke Raley, I believe. They get it done, and like I said, they put guys in positions where they will be the most successful, and that's it. They don't let anyone go outside of their like comfort zone or outside of what they are capable of doing, and they run into a perfect puzzle and a perfect science, and that's why they're so good. But the difference between this team and like years past, this team's got stars. Like Wander Franco's a superstar. He's the best shortstop in baseball. He got hurt tonight. He was like moving his neck a little bit, so that we'll look at that. It's probably just neck stiffness, but we'll see tomorrow if he's in the lineup. Shane McClanahan, superstar pitcher. Randy Rosarina, star. Like they have star talent. They just don't have the big money payroll, and that's why no one looks at it. But like I said before, payroll does not mean anything. Talent is what matters. You can buy talent. If they underperform, it does not matter. Like Wander Franco is not getting paid that much money compared to like an Aaron Judge. I'm not saying he's Aaron Judge, but Wander Franco is the best shortstop in baseball compared to like Francisco Lindor, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts. Those contracts, well, Franco's better, and he's making $15-20 million less. That's why it does not truly matter. Randy Rosarena, stud outfielder. Shane McClanahan, literally top 3-4 pitcher in the American League. They just, I don't want to say they find ways to win. Like, they're bludgeoning teams. They're like out-talenting teams for the first time, it feels like, ever. And I don't want to say I don't see them slowing down, because 30-9 is not a sustainable pace. But they are for sure on their way to 100 wins if they're already 21 games over 500. I have them actually as a series to watch. They're playing the Yankees this weekend. They face Cole tomorrow or today for you guys. And it's going to be fun. I mean, the game 1 went to the Rays. They won 8-0. This is a big series, a big week for the Yankees because they play, I believe, 2 division opponents. I don't know if it's Toronto after this, but they play a couple good quality teams. If they get swept by the Rays or lose 2 out of 3, they find themselves 10-11 games out of first place. It's a tough climb because you'd have to pass 4 to 5 teams. But the good thing is that you got a shot to make that a 6-game lead if you beat the Rays. So we shall see how that goes. But I just wanted to shout out the Rays just because getting a lot of slack lately for some reason. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But believe in this team. Like, this team is not like a fluke. This 39 record, it's not a fluke. Like, they got a lot of talent, and I would be very terrified to play them. So, Rays, best team in baseball by far right now, and we'll see how long they can keep this up. Like I just mentioned, I have some matchups to look out for this weekend. Dodgers, Padres, that's always marquee. This is a big series for the Padres. You can't. They already lost 2 out of 3 last week, a heartbreaker on Sunday Night Baseball, and you can't lose again. Like, you got to win this series because if not, that would be probably 4 out of 6, I believe. I don't think it's a wraparound series, so that would be 4 out of 6 you lose, and you only play them 12 times this year. So, gotta win this series if you're the Padres. If the Dodgers, just keep doing what you're doing, just because they lose Trey Turner, and James Outman all of a sudden might win Rookie of the Year. Miguel Vargas is a solid player. He hasn't even gotten going yet, really. And we still got Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Mookie Betts. Julio Urias is a stud. Clayton Kershaw is like 27 years old again. It's unfair. I shorted them. I said that a lot of teams have more talent than them. I was wrong. This team is probably the second or first best team in the National League. It depends who you ask. So, yep. I'm going to predict the Padres win this series, though. I think that a little bit of desperation. You don't want to fall too far behind the Dodgers, so I'm taking the Padres. Yankees, Rays. I know Cole goes tomorrow. Rays got 1 already. I think this is a 4-game set. I'm going to go split. Cole should get a win tomorrow. And like I said, I think similar to the Padres, the Yankees do not want to lose this series at home. I know they're down 1-0 already, but you split with them, you feel good about yourself, you feel you're starting to get going. They won 2 series in a row. They swept the A's, they beat the Guardians. Who they beat over the weekend? I forget who they beat over the weekend, but they're playing pretty good ball right now, the Yankees. Their record doesn't really show it because they did struggle while Judge was out, but now he's back, and he's Aaron Judge. So I'm gonna say split here. I know it's kind of boring, but I'm gonna go split. Blue Jays, Braves. This is a very interesting series. Blue Jays are coming off a bad loss. They tied in the 10th. Bo Bichette threw a ball away when it came in to score for the Phillies. I'm going to look at the pitching matchups for this one. So Blue Jays, Braves. This is where something like the pitching matters, because you play these good teams and you don't have your top guns to go. It's not going to be pretty all the time. So Blue Jays, let's see who they're throwing. The Braves are throwing Strider tomorrow versus Bassett. I'll give the Braves a win for that. Then they go Bryce Elder, who's been a stud, by the way, over Barrios. I'll go Braves as well. And then Sunday, to avoid the sweep, I'll go Yusei Kikuchi over who they don't know who they're pitching yet, the Braves. So I'll say the Braves win that series 2 out of 3. And then this is a little interesting to me. Tigers, Mariners. Tigers, I know they're 17. I think they're 17-20. They're a couple of games out of first place. Like, the AL Central's not, like, no one's running away with that division. This is a kind of a big series for the Mariners. Mariners have not played well yet. J-Rod hasn't gotten going. I don't know. I wasn't that high on the Mariners before the year started. I did think like they left a lot to be desired on the offensive side of the ball. They lost Robbie Ray for the season, but their pitching is for sure not their issue because now Bryce Miller just took his spot and is probably better than Robbie Ray. So I think the Mariners take this series. I'd say that a little quietly because if they face Erod, I don't know if they face Erod. I'll check right now actually. Eduardo Rodriguez, I believe, is second in the league and first in the American League in ERA. So they're getting what they're paid for in this guy finally. Not finally, it's his second year. So yeah, they go Joey Wentz. He's not that great. Their pitching is not the greatest, but they're finding ways to win. Alex Faedo's got a 3.8. They're facing Bryce Miller. So and then tomorrow is Matt Boyd. So the pitching isn't the greatest in this series. We're not seeing Luis Castillo. We're not seeing Eduardo Rodriguez. I mean, I'm going to go Mariners. Detroit's home, but I'm going to take the Mariners here. I think they're going to have to get going at some point. I think they're fourth in the division, and maybe this is the series that J-Rod breaks out. But besides that, I don't think the Tigers are a good team, but I do think AJ Hinch is a good coach, and he's getting through to these guys finally. I saw a stat with Javi Baez, like his WRC plus is like 150 points higher in the stretch after he got benched compared to when the first couple weeks of the season. That was an interesting thing that happened, and it might have turned the Tiger season around. The AL Central's up for grabs, so if you stay in it at the deadline, you make a couple moves, all of a sudden Spencer Torkelson or Riley Green are the players you wanted, you can find yourself in the mix. So good for the Tigers. They swept my Mets, but like a lot of teams are kind of beating the piss out of the Mets lately, so let's not rub it in. But besides that, that's all I got for this week's episode. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you guys on Monday. Peace out.